Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Lead podcast, where our intention is to support the development of future hospitality industry leaders. Excited for a great conversation today around delegation without micromanagement, something I've struggled with definitely in my career, but how it's the key to scaling trust, talent, and team performance. Kelly, so great to see you. How have you been?
We've been excellent. It's summertime. It's
Good.
finally sunshine in New York. No more rain.
Awesome. Well, Kelly, do you mind introducing? I'll let you introduce our incredible guest that we're so grateful to have and share with our audience. But do you mind introducing Julie for us today?
Oh my gosh, I would be an honor to. Julie is one of my absolute favorites and just such a role model in the industry who I have had the pleasure of following her journey, had the pleasure of learning from, and the absolute pleasure of matching at conferences. So be on the lookout the next time you're at one. Usually you can find us in matching jumpsuits unintentionally. But gosh, Julie rocks pink and green and blue and you name it. So I am so excited to introduce everybody to Julie from Taziki's. Julie, welcome. It's great to have you.
Thank you. Been looking forward to this.
We are super excited. This is actually one of my favorite topics when it comes to delegation, because I think it is definitely something that is really tough to learn for some of us control freaks in the room. And so I'm really excited to kind of hear your perspective on it. But before we talk about delegation and how you've been able to use that to propel your career, tell us a little bit about your story. What has it been like the last few years? Where have you come from? What has your journey looked like?
Yeah. All right. Well, I've been at Taziki's almost 5 years. Started there in August of 2020.
Ooh, right in time for the pandemic. You got to kind of come off of that. That's fun.
Yeah. That was really a great time to start. Got completely thrown into the fire when I started here. Really, my time in the service industry and in hospitality really goes all the way back to the very beginning. When I was a teenager, my dad had a dry cleaning business, which actually goes back to our family started it in 1917. So very, very long history in the service industry. And I really saw my dad model that servant leadership all the way back then. I saw that growing up. I worked for him in the summers when I was a teenager. Didn't know at the time that was servant leadership, but now, as an adult looking back, I can see and say, oh, okay, that's what he was doing. And I saw that modeled on a daily basis. And then, when I got out of college, worked in retail for a large franchisee of Blockbuster Video.
Oh,
it was super, super fun. Got to go on great trips, really great experiences there, cut my teeth in retail, and just that ground roots, boots on the ground experience in marketing. Really learn from a franchisee's perspective. How does it feel when you have the franchisor that is making these decisions, and how do you implement those at the ground level? So that was a great learning experience. And then after that, stayed home with 2 children for about 10 years, then came back to the working world and was with that's when I first started in the restaurant business, actually. Started with a frozen yogurt brand when that was all the rave and all the craze back in the early 2000, I think it was 2010, 2011 when I came back into the working world, and did that for several years, and then worked at a couple of other restaurant brands, and then came to Taziki's in 2020. So been here as head of marketing ever since, and really have grown with the brand. We've expanded. We're up to 105 restaurants as of today. We have about 10 more that are on the docket through the end of the year. Wow. So we have a few more new store openings to go. Our digital sales have really increased. That's the fastest growing part of our business right now. Catering took a huge explosion over the past 3 years. That's kind of leveled out a little bit. And it's been a great ride.
Gosh, and I can, with that type of growth, I swear the only way that you can get through it are crazy to-do lists, but delegating those crazy to-do lists, because you'll run out of paper and space and everything as there is too much to do when you're growing that fast. When you think about like your journey, and I love your perspective on it from a franchisee's perspective, because now you're kind of seeing that from the other side. Talk to us a little bit about, when you were going through that from a delegation perspective. Did you have any experiences where you're like, okay, noted, this is not how you delegate, whether for you learning to delegate or for somebody delegating something to you, you were like, okay, wait a minute, that's not great. I don't think that works, and how that kind of shaped you.
Yeah, it was real interesting being on the franchisee side early in my career, learning how to take those instructions and implement those on that side. So that definitely shaped coming over to the franchisor side. When I came back into the working world in my first job in the restaurant industry, I was a franchisor, and that was really what drew me to that position, because it was a time that I could be on that side. And I had always thought, oh, okay, being on the franchisee side and having that experience, it really would be interesting to be on the other side and having that opportunity to then be the one that was able to kind of set the tone and set the brand strategy, and then have it trickle down to the other side. But as far as specifically delegating things, yes, it has to be done. I've got a team of 10, so
Yeah.
I can't do 10 people's jobs. I can't. There's no way I
Could
can do that.
really, but you don't want to.
No, I don't want to. I can't do that. So I had to learn pretty quickly when I got to this position. And when I did start here, I had a team of 3. So we have grown, quite a bit in those 5 years as our store count has grown and our needs have grown. And the services that we provide our stores, it has grown as well. So we try to be a full service agency to our franchise partners and all of our locations. And yeah, there is a right way and a wrong way to delegate it. Trust me, I have delegated the wrong way many, many times. And more often when it has been the wrong way, I've tried to delegate probably too much too fast.
Yeah.
People that either maybe had been promoted into a position and I gave them too much responsibility too quickly, or were new hires and I kind of let them loose too fast. And didn't really kind of walk with them side by side to see how they were coming along, helping them in their journey, and really developing them on a slower timetable. So those were probably the biggest mistakes that I've made as far as the delegation that I've done. I haven't really held on to too much myself. The things that when I've been guilty of that, it's been because I'm in that time crunch and it's just like, okay, I'll just do it myself because I don't have time to teach somebody else how to do whatever this particular skill or topic is. But most of the time, the mistakes that I've made have been because it's just been, it's okay. There's this big chunk of work, whatever it is, and I need you to do it because this is what I've hired you to do. But it's probably you need a little bit more training or a little bit more help, and I've given it a little too soon, and kind of just sat back too quickly instead of working with them a little bit more than I should.
Yeah, I love that so much. I had an aha moment I think it was about a decade ago when Brene Brown put her book out, Dare to Lead. I don't know if anybody's seen any Brene Brown stuff, but she talked about paint and what done looks like. So it's like that transfer of skill set. And what I was watching, I was rushing and trying to let go and give other people the ability. But what I learned in my own delegation was the want to give away But when I step back and listen, and Julia heard a little bit there, is, what exactly does great look like, or what does ideal look like, or what does the transfer of responsibility? I don't know why it's like a crystallized moment in time going through that audiobook and pulling my car over and going, okay, something's got to shift. And one of the questions I have for you, because one thing that I see talking to leaders is we see that in my experience, people say, well, I've got to do this because I'm the best person, fastest, quickest, best, although I want to let it go, to leaders that delegate really well. It's kind of like no midpoint. Was there a point for you that your mindset shifted or evolved around, I'm doing a lot of work myself, I need to let go, to how do I do that effectively? Was there a moment in your career path where you started to evolve your mindset around delegation?
I think it was the point where I got comfortable with the staff that I had around me and the team that I was working with on a day-to-day basis. When you come into a role and you inherit people, then sometimes you don't feel comfortable giving them things to do. They have certain things that they're doing already, and then you inherit responsibilities and things. But when you reach that point where you either become comfortable with what they're doing and you reach that level of understanding with what their talents and their abilities are and their strengths, or the people that you were working with have either exited or you brought new people in or whatever, when you surround yourself with the team that you're like, okay, this is it, we're humming, we're good. I think that was at every job that I've had. That was where I've been able to kind of flip the switch and say, okay, this is the time that I can elevate to, I can work on strategy and the bigger picture, and then let them do what they were hired to do. Let everybody, run the catering program, do their project management roles, and design the creative, and whatever it is, and then I can focus on the big picture. I can talk to the people about getting a new app and whatever it is, and not have to get into the weeds of the other tasks that they're working on.
And Kelly, before I let you ask the next question, because I think it's what you just shared there. When I ask questions like that, and it wasn't intended, sometimes we look at what others need to do. There was just such a leadership lesson for the audience watching right now, where you did self-reflection of your ownership in the situation of delegation. Like often when I talk about, I need them to do different, how do I get them to do different? But you shared your getting a new team, building trust with that team, and starting to create change. Thank you for that. That was powerful.
Gosh, and I think what resonated most with me on that was just very much the more that you can really let go of some of those things is when that opens you up to be doing greater and bigger things, right? And continuing to sort of pass that back down to help educate that other sort of layer, right? That's coming up on that. And so the art of, I think, really delegating, it's not getting things off your plate, right? It's enabling members on your team to use their skill sets to do their job, but to learn and become the experts on that. And I think the more that you can let go, right, the more that you can be focused on the team growth and better results that are coming from that. I think that the interesting thing that you had really said was, in delegating and those, did you move too quickly, right? Did we promote them too quickly, or potentially were they not the right fit, and kind of what that looks like? How have you approached that, where maybe you did give that responsibility and suddenly you're like, wait a minute, I misstepped, right? How do you kind of back it back without jeopardizing the relationship with that individual, without disrupting the success, and sort of like, how do you handle that as a leader when maybe you did over delegate and now it's not working out, and it's a tough scenario to kind of be in?
Yeah, it is. And different times it's been handled different ways. A couple of times it's kind of been like, okay, time out, reset. So whether the person has been conscious of it, sometimes it's been like an overt, okay, here's like things aren't going the way that it's supposed to go, so we're going to kind of do a reset, and maybe we're going to have more one-on-one time than we did before. Here's new goals, new things for you. Or sometimes it's just been more of a reset internally for me to say, okay, I need to check in with this person more. I need to do more follow through, more follow up. So it's kind of gone both ways. And then so there have been a couple of times that it's just been, okay, this person may not be the best one suited for this job that we thought that he or she was going to be good at. So maybe there's something else that would work better, and actually switch to a different role. So, move people around on the bus, as they like to say, and ended up finding a better suited position somewhere else.
I think it's just amazing when you think about, delegation. I think sometimes as leaders, you think about it as, you're getting some of that stuff off your plate, right? You're empowering your team to take and run with it. But I think with what you just said, delegation actually helps us develop as leaders, right? It helps us recognize the way that we're presenting information, or the way that we, thought we knew something about somebody's, the way that they work or what their skill sets were. And it wasn't a good fit. And so I think it really does force you to look inside and say, okay, delegation is important for two different reasons, right? And I think that's so powerful as a leader to learn that as you go.
Yeah, we did something here a couple of years ago, and it was one of those programs where you learn about your people and figure out their personality type and all of that. And one of the things that about one of my team members was she likes to be left alone and like take control of her own stuff. And I was like, okay, that is very insightful. That's great. I needed to know that. So ever since then, it's like I just give her projects. It's like, okay, you are in charge of this. So soup to nuts, here you go. And she just thrives in that type of environment. So it's a combination of like me delegating, but also her with her skill set traits and just inherent personality traits. It's just kind of a natural fit of how she likes to work and how we can work together. So, it just kind of all blossoms up together.
Yeah, I love what you shared there, because there seems to be a theme in your leadership style of communication. So we have like the example, and you showed an example earlier about somebody owning catering. You have this leader on your team that once they get to own something, they thrive. One thing that I hear from both sides is, what does effective communication look like to find out? Because delegation's fluid, right? People's experience and how they take things on. What does communication on your teams look like to ensure they have ownership of what you've delegated, but also feel supported?
We've got a lot of different communication tools. We're one of those companies that has like everything. We have all of the stuff. We've got a platform for this and that and the other, and so we have all the built-in things. But I also have. I mean, I hope that my team feels this way. I have very, very open communication with all of them.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with one of my team members the other day. She said something about, well, I didn't want to bother you. And I was like, bother me. That's what I'm here for. Like, that's my job. Bother me about this kind of thing. So I do get irritated when they say that every now and then. Yeah. But I have regular one-on-ones with everybody on my team. And then we have a group, we call it a power hour. Every Friday we get together and we have, it's very scheduled, and we have like 10 minutes at the beginning. We talk about numbers, whatever's going on. That rotates. A different person on the team leads that for 10 minutes. And it's an area of focus that they're interested in, whether it's catering numbers or a particular promo that we just did, reflect back on the numbers from that, what if KPIs, whatever it is. And then we have our minute to win it, which every person has 1 minute to go through and tell us like a win that they had that week, something they're proud of and want to share. We actually had one of our folks announce that she was pregnant last week during her minute to win it. So nobody can ever top that. That was like the best one ever. And then we have like a calendar review and then a time of discussion. So that's kind of where we all get together and have like the open forum of this is our time to get together once a week as a team and kind of flesh out any of the big things that we all need to know about. And then we also have lots of different times where different subsets of the team are working together. And then, of course, I'm in constant communication. If there's any week that goes by and I don't talk to pretty much everybody offline at least once outside of our even scheduled one-on-one time, then it's a very unusual week as well. So, there's a lot of communication, and we're in an office. You can tell here I am today in the office, and there's about half of us that are here, about 5 that work here with me in the office. And then we have another office in Nashville where a couple of folks are, and then got like 3, I think, remote employees. So it was interesting to have kind of a split group. And the remote folks, they really love that power hour on Friday because that's the one time in the week that they get that kind of FaceTime with everybody, that they can come together and at least have a little bit of camaraderie with the group.
Love it. Thank you.
I think it's what is so beautiful about that, I think, is the transparency around what the goals are and what's important from a numbers perspective. I think, Julie, you enable your team to be owners by understanding the priorities of the business and where everything stands and how everybody is really, they're contributing to that. And I think what's really important about that is that that's what enables them to take the tasks that have been delegated to them and see where that is impacting the business. And so when they take on a project for catering and catering numbers go up, they can own the fact that they were a part of that. And so I feel like it just has this, that between that and the minute to win it, the power of positivity of, getting the team to know that it's not A, work all the time, but B, like there is always something every week that you should be happy about and proud of and positive about. I think that just speaks volumes, across the team. It's so powerful. I love that. When you're thinking about your team and you're hosting meetings like that, are there things that you look for in terms of like, I'm sure you've got a million things in your head, but how do you pick sort of that? How do you recognize when somebody's ready for another task or another opportunity? Or when you're looking for that, are there things that you pick up on to help you in sort of delegating out those tasks?
A lot of the time it's somebody that's kind of already doing it.
Okay.
Like I don't really even have to pick them out. They've already kind of self-selected, if that makes sense. Like they've already poked around and prodded and said, oh, well, I'm already interested in this, or I've gone above and beyond by taking the initiative to look into this, or I've asked about this, and it's just kind of they have, you just tell they just have
and your team. I think that's the key theme, right? Is knowing your team. Those indicators sort of pop up when you need to delegate.
Yeah. There's a couple of people on the team specifically that came into my group after serving in multiple different departments in the company, either in the field, working in a restaurant, or in other departments, and had just kind of been, I wouldn't say floundering, but just really hadn't found their space, like hadn't found their right seat on the bus yet. Didn't know where they belonged. And when they got in our group, they just really found a home here. And either because of the work or the group or, for whatever, it just jived. And those folks are the ones that have really gone over and above and have started like looking into new technologies and have been researching new theories on things, or have been looking out for, maybe new, what's happening in AI. And, they're just always kind of coming to the table with new and exciting things. And so it's that kind of, things that are piquing their interest. That's like, okay, well, they're ready for something else. I can give them a new project. I can give them more responsibility because they're showing interest and they're wanting to expand their horizons. So why not let them?
Yeah.
If I'm not going to stifle and say, oh, no, I'm not, stay where you are. You're not going to advance. I'm not going to let you do any of that. No, let them grow.
No, I love that "let them" side. I just saw Mel Robbins here. I'm in Toronto and saw Mel Robbins' "Let Them" theme, and it was incredible to hear her and her daughter share that story. But one thing is we've got a couple questions left for you, and one thing we try to do at the end of the episode is really give the answer to the test. So if you think in your network to a franchisee or a manager inside the location, kind of what are 2 or 3 things that you would recommend a leader do to start to practice delegation or to take the first steps? What tips do you have for our audience?
Well, I think kind of building on that point that I just made a second ago about your team is like look at your folks and see where their areas of interest are. If somebody is constantly saying, "Oh, well, here I was reading about da 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 da," what's happening in AI, or I was reading about this new area of technology, or have we ever thought about this? If people are asking questions like that and they're probing about a particular area, well, they obviously are interested in that. So lean into that. Use that area of interest as something that they can use to your benefit, and see if you can give them extra responsibility and new projects and things that will help them explore that and um, just learn from it and help the team. But then also really, with the delegation, start small. You don't have to give somebody a huge project to start right off the bat. Just start with small things. Maybe something hits your email today and you're like, oh, okay, this is going to take me, 30 or 45 minutes. If you could delegate that to somebody else, and maybe it will be painful if you teach somebody else how to do it, but in the long run, it'll be better for you. I heard somebody the other day talking about cutting his grass, and he was talking about his son. He was like, those summers that my son was like 12 and 13, I knew it was going to be so painful teaching him how to cut the grass those couple of summers. But I kept thinking, if I could get through these 2 summers, then like every summer till he graduates from high school, I won't have to lift a finger. I can sit there on the deck and watch him cut the grass. So if you can think about that, think about, okay, this might be painful for now, but I can get through it. So not quite that same philosophy, but something similar. Teach them how to do it now so that you can let go of that particular responsibility. So I would definitely try to start small and delegate some small things that you can eventually work up to something bigger down the road.
Thank you.
I was going to say, when I think about it from a delegation perspective, in starting small on that, Julie, I think that is just such powerful advice of, if you're trying to learn how to delegate and delegation is a priority for you, whether you received that feedback from a manager or that's a goal of yours to free up extra time in your week. I think, starting small, and Julie, like you said, right, it's look at your inbox, right? Start with your emails, look at your, checklist when you walk inside of the restaurant, or, that one weekly meeting that maybe you don't feel prepared for because you don't have one certain report. Looking in your day-to-day to sort of find those activities that could really resonate with somebody on your team, right? That they would share interest in, or something that would be powerful for them to learn so that they can use that in their career to become more, well-rounded in terms of just business practices. I think it's, find that one thing, find that one thing every week, because otherwise you just keep adding on to, your list and continuing to go from there. I think that's, gosh, such a good takeaway, Julie.
We have a problem in our restaurants where our general managers, for whatever reason, they don't like to teach assistant managers a lot of the day-to-day tasks. But yet we are on a huge growth spurt. As I just said, we've got 10 new restaurants that we want to have on the docket the rest of this year, and we have 15 more that we want to build next year. And if we're trying to expand at this type of pace, we have jobs for a lot of people, and we're constantly in need of new managers. And so I don't know if people are afraid that they can be replaced if they teach folks that are coming up behind them. But that is such an important skill to teach folks what you do know, and not to be worried about being replaced, because you're just helping yourself and the whole team the more that you can teach those that come behind you.
Something we see all the time, and we wrote a program years ago called Strengthen the Core. So we need to strengthen the next level of management and allow to rewire our thought process for the existing leaders. And usually it's that GM bottleneck with the best of intentions and care for the business. But as we wrap the episode, Julie, I really wanted to just come back to what you shared. So you shared we have all the stuff and things. We have all the platforms that everybody should have. We have all the technology. But one thing you shared repeatedly through your incredible feedback is the human-to-human connection. Like, I would want to work beside you, work with you, work for you, because you can tell you keep that human-to-human connection and dialogue with your people, not just in delegating a task, but in consistency of one-on-ones, meetings, touch points outside of your meetings. Any leader watching this, the perception is, do we have time for this or not? And my assumption would be that's a non-negotiable for you. These must-dos that are leading to this scalable success, like going 100 stores to 110 to 125 inside of a 18-month period, and probably future growth on that same scale is pretty remarkable. But it takes the rewiring here to be able to do so. So I know we're up against time. I just wanted to say thank you so much for your feedback. I've got notes here in front of me that I'm taking and thinking through as a student in this episode. So thank you so much, Julie, and thank you, Kelly. And we have future episodes coming up. This episode will be up very, very soon. But also for those that are coming to the lead event in Dallas, can't wait to see you there. I think there's a couple tickets left, but by the time we post this, they will be gone. A remarkable group of leaders coming together with some great speakers, and can't wait to see those that are attending at the lead event in Dallas. So thank you, Julie. Thank you, Kelly.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having me.
Woo.
So